All right, hopefully everyone had a good trading week from January 23rd to the 27th of 2023. This is going to be my weekly recap. I'm going to start getting these out there uh, primarily for me so that I can track and see what I'm doing wrong and really visually go through it and take the time. I always take notes on Saturday or Sunday to journal my week and my trades, but I figure this will be a good way for me to double down on that and really hone in, see what I'm doing, hopefully help someone out with my mistakes, or someone can add something from my trading to theirs, or people can point out where I go horrifically wrong. This is also an eye opener for me because I get to see quite well where I go wrong. Just so everyone knows, the green dots are where I entered, the purple is where I exited. It's just highlighting the candle. This is a 1 minute just to better see entries and exits. 5 minute is actually what I trade on. The 5 and the 15 minute is really what I trade on, as you can see here. 1 minute just has a lot of chatter, and I found that I trade better personally with the 5 minute. I also do have all my trades right here just so I can have them going over. I trade with around $1,000 account because I'm still trying to dial in my skills before I blow another account. I'm sure we've all been there, and I don't feel the need to go through another large account before I really figure out the trading. I started this week with a balance of 841, excuse me. You can see right there, just in all transparency. And then I also have my trader sync that I'm working with on the right here so that I can tell you percentages and everything like that. The first trade we got in here was on the SPY. I was looking at this bounce of the 395.90 area in this general area. I added some at the 31, 831, and 832. I am trading Central Time just as an FYI. It was off this reject. We wicked down and came back up, and I liked that for potential entry. And then it was a real quick trade. We were in and out 833. We came up to this VWAP, and that's where I got out. Like I said, I trade on the 5 minute, so I'll primarily go over things on this. These were calls, by the way. So we came up to that VWAP. Honestly, it was obviously a bit of an early exit. If you know how the market went for that day, you'd be telling me that I should be banging my head, and me too. But trade your trading plan, and that's what I did. I did get a little nervous. I got shaken out a bit early, but I did walk away from this trade with a 17% return. Nothing too crazy, but it got the job done. We can see more specifically on my exits. In reality, I should have seen this trend line forming and followed that. That's the one perk, I guess, of the 1 minute is you can see that. But you can also follow that on level 2 for the 5 minute, seeing that we are forming lower highs and that the trend is forming up. We were only a few minutes into the market, so it's hard to really say that a full trend was forming, but in the short term, that is the trend we saw. I guess what I saw probably on the 5 minute is that our VWAP and our EMA were lining up right here, and we had a hard time. That wick above, I think, is really what shook me out, and I shouldn't have allowed that to trade the plan. We never broke the low. In reality, I should have had a stop loss somewhere around below this 95.7 area, maybe with a little wiggle room down. But we never broke down, and so hindsight 2020, we'd all be perfect traders, but I shouldn't have allowed myself to get shaken out there. This Monday was a pretty tough day. I then totally flipped and entered puts, and this is where one of those things that I need to go back and work on my trading. Every one of these is a put entry of these greens. You can see here there's 3 call entries, 2 right there and 1 right there, and I was all out by 8:38, and then I started to enter puts. I don't know what I particularly saw that I thought the market was weak. I don't know what sentiment I thought. Obviously, I was very wrong. My final put entry was up here at 8:46, and then if you know what happened, excuse me, I actually lied. There was one more put entry at 9:11. I thought we might have seen the top with this what looked like a head and shoulders forming, but I was incorrect. If you know what happened Monday is we just continued pretty much up. I ended up exiting everything out at it was 10:03. You can see that exit right there. I finally just gave up, which is another thing that I need to work on is my stop loss. When a trade goes against me, I have a hard time dealing with it. I think everyone does. And another thing that I really didn't do well is how many contracts I had open. I try to stick to my rules. There's rules for a reason. That's another thing, the emotional side of trading that I was working on. Monday got the better of me, and it really showed. I entered a total of seven put contracts, and we ended the day down $441. So that was a tough one. That was my final trade. I was out by 10.03, like I said. From there, the trend was up, and I went against the trend. Going on to the 24th, it's definitely a better trading day for me. Let's get this set up. Again, like I said, I trade on the 5-minute. What we were watching was this 400. 400 is a big level on that SPY. And so that's where we are really watching. My first entry, you can see right here at 833. This guy, I thought we were going to reject. These were calls, by the way. I thought we were coming up to this VWAP. And that's when I entered. I guess I should have had a little more conviction before I entered, because we did come back down and retest. And then I had an entry at 836. You can see right here. This was a much better entry price. We had this level from the prior day, 123, this 397 area that showed, which turned support for us as we had broken it. So below that was pretty much where I was looking for my stop loss. So with these calls, I added, like I said, 33, 36, and then we did get a real nice move up. I ended up exiting at one VWAP touch, the upper band, and then another one, just on my personal preference. And obviously, you know, in hindsight, it looks like I had great exits on the 1 minute in particular. But anytime we come up to that VWAP, especially early on in the day, I just feel like it's a bit overextended, and I like to get out of my trades. It did work out well for me. I ended up, that was a 20 or 30% trade on that one. After that, I let the market play out a little bit, and then at 8:58, I ended up actually adding, and again, you can see here, right at 8:58, on the 5-minute, it looks like we're coming back down to the support area, and that's what I was really looking for. We have this area of supply here, and I was hoping to play off that. That initial entry was a bit early. I have a tendency to enter trades early because I don't want to miss out. It's bitten me sometimes. I think I need to be a little more patient, but I do like getting that one contract in a bit early. And the second entry was at 9 o'clock. You can actually see here, excuse me, right here, it still was a better entry, and then I finally had a third one at 9:05. And on that 1 minute, you can tell we nearly bottom ticked that. So I, again, was pretty lucky there, but I did have that level right there, which we were watching pretty close, 97.8. And so that's how I was able to get that pretty much bottom tick. From there, we came up, because of my entry price, my average entry price, this first exit was about a 20% return. And then here, my second exit was when we came up and touched VWAP again. Like I said, today was one of those days where we very much respected that upper VWAP band, and so that's why I like to keep them on there. And it gives me pretty clear area trades. As you can see, we pretty much went, I mean, we did go VWAP to VWAP, and that's why I like to trade like that. And that trade was the final trade for that day, and that one came out with another pretty much 30%. It was a 29.5% trade. Overall, I was pretty happy with this trading day. I came out with about $177. Doesn't cover for yesterday or the day before, but you should never revenge trade or trade to make up a previous day. You just trade your system. And today was one of those days. It worked out pretty well for me, and I was very pleased with that trading. Coming to Wednesday, the 25th, the main watch that we are looking at was this pre-market high area, this 396.30. This was also a previous area tested. This upper, this green line here too, let me pull up a daily chart, was actually this trend that's been forming, that trend line. It's not perfect, but we are in that area, so it was good to know that we are getting close to that area, and it did line up pretty close with this general area. We could just kind of overall see that as the supply area. The first plays that we were looking at on the 25th was puts because of this area. We got in early here on the 5-minute. You can see what I was actually looking for is a VWAP reject. We had our 9 EMA lining up with that, and I thought it would be a pretty good entry. Like I said before, I do like those early entries. Again, if I had waited, obviously I could have gotten a better entry, but in my mind, I just don't want to miss that play. This whole area, that 396, was the initial ad area, so it worked out to my plan. That was the plan, and we followed it. The main ad area was up in this zone, as you can see. That worked out pretty well. we came up, added up here, like I said, almost top tick that again. This zone worked out pretty well, and then we added one more at the 45 mark, 845. From there, we saw a really nice downtrend, at least for about 10-15 minutes that we could capitalize on. First exit was at 850, and then that was when we just got a real nice move down. And then from there, I exited on this bottom VWAP touch, as you can see. After that, I got a bit trigger happy. Anytime we come to VWAPs, I think my initial reaction is just rejection. And so from there, I quickly jumped into calls. After I was fully out of my puts there, the put play worked very nicely. And those puts netted me about a 34% trade, 33.94, which was pretty good. This long play ended up working out pretty well. I added down here, you can see on that 5 minute, it worked out nicely. This wick below made me nervous, but we came back up real nice and reclaimed that close of the red candle. So I was pretty confident overall, and we did have this area 394 bounce, which was on the watch list as well. But we got in a little early, and this was one of those entries I'm glad I got in early because I didn't want to miss out on it, excuse me. From there, we rode it a bit, got a 905 and a 906 exit. The only thing that I need to work on is I entered 3 calls in this area, and I only exited out of 2. I have a bad habit of exiting 2. I have my 1 runner, but then I actually will proceed to add instead of getting rid of that. I should have taken my green and gone for the day. It did work out. I ended up adding at 911, 913, and then 914 again. It was this big red, and I was kind of just looking. This whole area was just a supply zone to me. 394.5 was where we were going to begin to add. I got a bit above that. We came down. We tested this area, the 393.70 and up to the 394. We never had a whole lot of conviction, and on level 2 it looked pretty good. The one thing that was concerning me is we kept failing to break out of this 9. But with this doji can't, or not doji, whatever you want to call it, a pinball shooting star, I really like the way that looked, and the level 2 lined up with that, the active data. From there, we just saw a real nice trend up of those 3. So then I had a total of 4 contracts after these 3 ads. I ended up getting out of 2 of them here. This should actually be that color as an exit. I ended up getting out of 3 of them in this area, and then I let 1 runner go just because we'd been seeing some big trend days, and I wanted to make sure that I capitalized on that. I ended up getting out. What time did I get out? At 12:15, and it just hit my stop right there. I had a sell at 250 in, and when it hit that, I just let it go. Obviously, I could have let it run a little more, but it overall worked out really well for me. Like I said, that stop is right in there. If I'd let it run, I'd left probably $100, $200 on the table for that contract, but my average price for this contract was probably around 1, so a 250 exit was going to be perfect. That trade, I netted 56% and at $277, so it's hard to complain with that. And that sums up Wednesday. Thursday was another tough day trading for me. The 26th. The initial, what we were looking at here was a reject off this 403.8 to 404 area, all the way up kind of to 404.3, excuse me. That was the main ad, but above 403.8 is where we were looking for that ad for puts. I added 1 here at 8:32, and I actually closed it 5 minutes after. I just got shook out. My emotions got the better of me, and that's all I can say because I don't really know why else I closed it. I came out with a $5 profit, $4 pretty much after commission, but then I just missed a massive, 15-minute move down, and that would have been the trade for my day, and I probably would have moved on from then. And that's one of those things that I need to work on again, is that emotional control, and hopefully this can help you guys out and hopefully help me out to see that there's no reason that I needed to cut it. We never made a new high, really. We had this 1 wick up with a very quick rejection on the 1 minute, you can see. Even on the 5 minute, we can tell that reject, we didn't really look like we wanted to go a whole lot higher. That 404 area was being particularly sticky. So there was no reason to exit that put, and then I missed a good $3 move. And so that would have seen massive spikes on these contracts. And then not only that, to double down on it, all of these greens are actually calls that I added. So normally I trade between 2 to 3 contracts, and that's where I hard cut myself with my account size, because then if I go any more, it just becomes too emotional and I become too leveraged. But I ended up adding 12 contracts of this. Granted, they were a lot cheaper. So in reality, it was probably like I was trading 7 to 8 of the normal contracts just because they were a little more outside the money. But still, it doesn't make it any better. My final ad here was down at this supply area, which I guess it worked out in that sense, because you can see on the 5-minute, we really couldn't break this 401 area with volume, and that's what I was looking at on the level 2. From there, we did get a nice move up. I closed out of 2 of them, but that was it. And then we just kind of chopped for a while, up, down, up, down. In reality, looking back, this is when I should have exited them all at this area at 925, because we failed to go higher. When I saw that 5-minute fail to make a higher high, even after this one, I mean, at some point I have to realize that that trade isn't going my way, and I have too much on the line in this trade, and my emotions are getting the better of me. Fortunately for me, after an absolutely nasty reject down to a very large bounce, 400.3, if I actually had any money, that's really win. That was one of the main levels. If we could come down to here, that would have been a lovely bounce, and obviously it was a 4-point bounce, or a rejection for a lower move. But fortunately, it came back up. Like I said, very fortunately for me, we came all the way back up to make new highs of days. And I came away from that trade with about a $160 loss. We were down much more at some points during the day. And so, again, that emotional control to cut losers is something that I'm really working on. And obviously, it's something that you got to be in control of to trade well and trade consistently long term. Friday was a much better day with a high conviction trade as well. On Friday, if I pull this up, let's unlink, let's pull up the SPX. On Friday, we opened up, we'll just pull up right at the 40.50 mark. And this is what we are watching close. Anytime I'm trading SPY, which is what I primarily trade, I also always have the SPX up as well. Because we get major levels there that we like to play. And so the 40-50 area was what I was playing on, and seeing this fail to make a lower low, that is really when we had high conviction on this trade. Going back to my trades though, on the 5-minute, when we broke above here, again, this was really actually more of an SPX play. And so when we came down and came close to that 40.50, that's when I added. When we came down again and failed to make a newer low, that's also when I added more. And then finally, in that same 5-minute, when we failed to make yet another low, was my final add. So we are going in with 4 contracts total. And in a matter of 5-minute from the last ad, we were able to exit one of them. And then 10 minutes, another one. And then this was another little ad off the previous close from the prior day. This was just kind of a playing with profits ad, so we're going to move past that. It did end up green. Overall, I'm not pleased with that trade, but this was the other trade was our primary trade. For our third contract, we exited here on the nice move up, and then I let one runner go. We were playing with profits on the day, and we had seen a lot of trend days. If we kind of pull this guy back up on the 1-year day, we'd seen a lot of trend days, and I didn't want to miss out and partake in that FOMO. I was green, and I wasn't going to let that go against me, but I was willing to play with some of my profits just so that I tried not to leave anything on the table. From there, we bounced around quite a bit. We came back down and tested real close pretty much at that 40-50 level. Again, this entire time I'm already green on the day, so I was letting it play out. I got a little nervous. I didn't have a true stop loss. I wasn't at my computer anymore. I was just following it on my phone with alerts set, and we never broke low of day. I guess that would have been my true stop, is if we broke low of day with conviction and volume and level 2 to support it. We never did, thankfully, and then we just, like I said, I didn't want to miss out, and we just trended pretty much all day until the final hour. Nothing more than pure luck of my limit price, which was 415 on my contract. This was my exit And you can see right here 1408, and that is the 1408 candle. My exit price was 415, and I pretty much I top ticked the candle and top ticked my contract price. That's right when SPX came pretty much to 4100. The 4095 is what we are watching closely, and so I was fine with that. I took it and I ran, and that worked out because I pretty much top ticked that trade. From there, we just trended down, but overall, this was besides profit-wise, I came away with $406 from this trade. Obviously, it was my best profit, and it was one of my highest gainers. I came away with 54%, but overall, it was just the most confident trade, too. The highest conviction. We didn't trade between levels. We traded the levels, and we executed well. It was the most emotionless, minus that ad. That ad right there was a little emotion-driven, but besides that, we traded very well on Friday. This rounds out my trading for the week. At the end of the week, we ended with $1,400. We ended up $600, which was a pretty good week overall, considering we had two big losers. So I was very content with that. Again, like I said, this is just kind of my trading journey. I want to document it for those that might find value in it or might be able to give me pointers or take something away from it. If you have any questions, feel free to add them below. Otherwise, I will see you guys at the end of the next trading week, and hopefully you trade smart and trade safe.